Coming up tonight on YCN News, GOP candidate for New Hampshire Governor Walter Havenstein receives some good news from the State Ballot Law Commission. Vermont State Police seek the public's help in finding a 71-year-old woman who's gone missing from her southwestern Vermont home. And road and other summer construction projects in New Hampshire are in jeopardy now that federal funding toward the state projects may not be available. For more news, weather, and sports, it's time for YCN, your local view.
Now, your daily digest of the Dartmouth-Lake Sunapee region, southern Vermont, and Windsor County. News, sports, weather, and all that is happening in our area. The news on YCN, your local view.
Good evening, and welcome to this Tuesday edition of YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. The next court hearing for a New Hampshire couple charged with allegedly setting their Newbury home on fire will be July 15th. A probable cause hearing was scheduled to be held today in Newport District Court, yet a new date was set shortly after 2 p.m. 58-year-old Douglas McCann and 47-year-old Rosemarie DeGilio were arrested on arson-related charges on June 25th. McCann is charged with 1 count of felony arson and 1 misdemeanor charge of burning without a permit. DeGilio is charged with 1 count of felony conspiracy to commit arson. The fire destroyed their single-family home at 65 Stony Brook Road in Newbury on June 9th. The couple also can have no contact with each other while further court hearings proceed. Stony Brook Road runs off Baker Hill Road. GOP candidate for New Hampshire Governor Walter Havenstein got some good news yesterday from the State Ballot Law Commission. Havenstein is eligible to run for elected office. He meets the 7-year residency requirement to run for the state's highest position, the panel determined. Havenstein and his wife have a home in Alton. They moved to New Hampshire in 1999. Earlier, Havenstein worked in Maryland, purchasing a condo, making that his legal residence. He got a Maryland's driver's license while maintaining a home in New Hampshire. Since 2005, he and his wife have consistently registered their cars in New Hampshire. Republican Havenstein joins fellow Republican and businessman Andrew Hemingway in challenging Hassan for the 2-year seat. The state primary, where one candidate will be elected to run against Hassan, is September 9th. November 4th is the general election. A Vermont woman is missing from her home in southwestern Vermont, and state police ask the public's help in locating her. 71-year-old Rita Sweet was last seen by family members around 11 a.m. yesterday. Sweet's family called police when they couldn't locate her last night. An argument preceded Sweet's walking away from a home in Pownell on Route 7. Sweet was last seen wearing a blue tank top, blue floral print shorts, and blue sandals. She has blue eyes, gray hair, and is 5 feet 4 inches tall and weighs about 170 pounds. Sweet wears glasses and has a distinctive mole under her left eye. Anyone with any information on Sweet's whereabouts is asked to call the Vermont State Police Barracks at 802-442-5421. The Windham County town of Putney, just outside of Brattleboro, is one of 6 Vermont towns that will benefit from new and faster internet service. The Vermont Telecommunications Authority Board approved 2 projects yesterday as part of its work to improve business broadband connections to the internet. By mid-2015, fiber optic service is expected to come to Putney, Braintree, Brookfield, North Randolph, Pomfret, and Sharon. Enhancing broadband opportunities in Vermont's smallest towns remains a priority for Governor Peter Shumlin, he says in a press release. State funding from the 2010 Backroads broadband legislation will help pay for this fiber optic rollout. Giving Vermont businesses the ability to effectively compete in a global marketplace far beyond the state's borders is incredibly important, says Shumlin. Businesses today, especially startup companies, need faster internet speeds than basic broadband. VTA Executive Director Christopher Campbell says fiber optic cable installation, especially in rural areas, can be nimbly upgraded as the technology changes. Southern Vermont Cable will work with Putney businesses seeking fiber optic connections. Meanwhile, road and other summer construction projects in New Hampshire are in jeopardy now that federal funding towards state projects may not be available. U.S. Senator Jeanne Shaheen and U.S. Representative Ann McLean Custer are two members of the state's congressional delegation who are voicing concern for the funding gap. At issue is money from the National Highway Trust Fund. The State Department of Transportation announced today that work on $25 million worth of road work may be delayed because federal funding may be unavailable. Meanwhile, Custer has introduced legislation called the Drive Now Act, which aims to restore federal funding. If this legislation moves forward, it would allow Congress to make a one-time payment of $5 billion to the Federal Highway Trust Fund. This would pay for transportation projects, taking advantage of the warmer weather when the work is typically done. Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. It's happening on the 5th of July in Windsor, Vermont, yet it's as patriotic as an event can be. And if you are so inclined, you may want to take part by stepping back in time 237 years ago. In 1777, Windsor, Vermont served as the capital of the newly formed Republic of Vermont. The old Constitution House was the place where American patriots ratified the state's first constitution. Back then, this house also served as Elijah West's tavern. It was here that those colonial Vermonters learned British soldiers who had just invaded the new republic. Reenactors each July take visitors back in time to the day of the Constitution's ratification. A person is needed this year to recreate the role of the messenger, to bring the news that residents must be on guard from the British. The event will go on as planned. Reports online listserv Connect Cornish. If you'd like to participate, take advantage of the telephones we have today and call K Carrier at 802-674-4021. Beyond road crews, summer hikes, and swims, it's peak season for visits by bears. New Hampshire Fish and Game biologist Andy Timmons and colleagues remind everyone visiting the woods or camps to be alert for bears. June and early July are transition periods for gardeners and wildlife. Vegetable and fruit crops are not yet in full growth, even as bears are on the hunt for food. Timmons says this is why bears often meet up with vacationers. Just as people are visiting New Hampshire's outdoor parks and lakes, so are bears looking for food that humans bring on picnics and cookouts. In other earthly matters, consider attending a talk on how to make a backyard garden flourish. All are welcome tomorrow at the Windsor Public Library for a talk on all things gardening. Master gardener and Windsor resident Lisa Richards will give the second of a series of talks related to the town's seed library. Per its website, windsorlibrary.org, library patrons can borrow non-genetically modified seeds to begin a garden. With a library card, patrons borrow up to 5 packets of seeds. In return, the grower leaves unharvested in the ground a plant or two grown from the lent seeds and collects the seeds from the plants. These seeds from the newly grown plant are returned to the library, ready for another growing season. Bring your gardening questions for Miss Richards. The event begins at 7 p.m. Wednesday. The library is located at 43 State Street. Telephone number is 802-674-2556. Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. Now Matt McDonald will have a look at our weather for the next few days and then move on to sports.
Thanks, Rose. Tonight we have a 50% chance of showers and thunderstorms before midnight with possibly gusty winds. Skies will be mostly cloudy and we'll experience some patchy fog after 3 a.m. Lows will be in the 60s and winds will be ranging between 5 and 10 miles per hour. Tomorrow morning we will have some fog before 8 a.m. followed by some scattered showers and thunderstorms at a 40% chance of precipitation. Skies will be partly sunny with a high of 89 degrees. Winds will be around 10 miles an hour, but gusts may reach up to 25 miles an hour. Wednesday night will have a 60% chance of rain with cloudy skies and lows in the 70s. Winds will calm down to around 5 miles per hour. Thursday we have a high of 83 degrees with a 70% chance of precipitation. Rain is expected before 1 p.m. with showers and thunderstorms after 1 p.m. Skies will be cloudy and winds will stay around 5 miles per hour. Thursday night we'll have a low of 61 degrees with cloudy skies and a 50% chance of showers. Turning to our northeastern map, we can see potential thunderstorms close by. It will affect us tonight into tomorrow. Now let's see what's coming up on our community calendar. Tomorrow at 3 p.m., the Hanover, New Hampshire and Woodstock, Vermont farmers markets will take place. In White River Junction, Vermont, the Lyman Point Park is hosting the Party Crashers concert at 6:30 p.m. In New Hampshire, the Ben Muir Bandstand in Sunapee is holding a performance by Kid Pinky and the Restless Knights at 7 p.m. Wednesday night. Remember, you can submit local events from your community by sending them to news@ycnnow.com. And now turning to some New Hampshire Fisher Cats updates. We have some bad news. The Fisher Cats lost their winning streak. They won 6 games in a row since Tuesday but could not defeat Reading on Monday. The final score was 7-6, a close game. They will continue to play Reading this week, every day up until Thursday. YCN will keep you updated on Fisher Cats news.